everybody, Keith Hilson with the Schmidt Music Trombone Shop, back with another instrument review. And I have for you today an instrument I've been excited to have in the shop for a while, specifically the Adams TB1 Tenor Trombone. Now, you may have seen a video or two I've done about the Adams instruments in the past. Especially over the past 2-3 years, they've really started to gain some notice on the trombone end. I had a chance to spend a lot of time with their instruments at the last ITF and came away really impressed. And so again, I've been really waiting, excited to get one of these in the shop. It just arrived here, and so I'm going to be taking an opportunity to take a playthrough and talking about all of this. So we're going to be going through talking about this. I'm going to be playing all of this today on a Bach 5G. Like I mentioned, I've talked about Adams before, but in case you're not familiar, Adams is a musical instrument maker based in the Netherlands. They actually started off really more as a repair shop and retail store and then started making musical instruments. Now, they're exceptionally well known in the percussion end for their timpani, for marimbas, etc. And especially over the past 10 plus years, they've really gained some attention, first on the trumpet side, and then with euphoniums as well. The Adams euphoniums have very much become a go-to for a lot of very high-end players like the Besson Sovereigns, like the Yamaha Neos, etc. But their trombones, they've again been doing some development work the past handful of years. I've gotten a chance to play some different variations of these, and especially kind of their latest iteration here. I think they've really captured something. So this is the TB1 is a large bore tenor trombone. They do actually have an alto trombone that I had a chance to play. I was really impressed with, and a bass trombone as well. That's doing really great stuff so far. But the TB1 here is again a large bore tenor trombone, 8.5-inch bell. It's a little bit bigger setup, so a little bit wider slide here, single radius tuning slide here. This is in yellow brass. We'll talk about options in a second. This particular one has a straight 547 bore, wider hand slide. I'd say almost wider than even like S.E. Shire. So very much kind of more of a box style width, although it does not have the bass crook in there. And this one, they have two different valve options. This has the Meinl-Schmidt Open-Flow valve. as well, which I'll talk about. I think pairs really nicely with this. So, first off, Adams is known for having a lot of different variations and options, and they can build a lot of variation within this. So this particular one is in gold brass. This is with their .6 gauge material. They do build the tenors in a .55 as well, and they will build them in yellow brass, gold brass, red brass, and sterling silver. Same thing with the tuning slides here as well. You can get 4 different materials in that. The hand slides, you can have a choice of materials for the outer slide tubes and for the crook as well. And they do offer this with a dual bore 547, 562 bore as well. So, a ton of options there, and they do have 2 different valve options as well. Like I mentioned, they have the Meinl-Schmidt Open-Flow valve, and they have the Hagman valve as well. I've had a chance to play both a little bit. I really kind of prefer this setup. So, Adams, there's been a couple of folks in the last couple of years who've done stuff with the Meinl-Schmidt Open-Flow valve. Bach on their new anniversary model, now the 42 BOF or BOFG, they're using the Meinl-Schmidt valve. Adams has been using it. I really like it. It's a little bit different setup as far as rotary valves go. It has a little bit more compression, and that's actually why I think the Hagman balances really nicely with it, because the Hagman does tend to be a little bit more open, a little bit, I'm not going to say more even playing, but there is a different feel to the air here versus the Meinl-Schmidt Open-Flow valve. This valve in general I found takes a little bit different approach, especially with the box. It takes a certain kind of player to get those to play because it's a very different setup. You're taking a very big open setup in the typical box setup, and then you're putting it through a fairly compact valve. I really describe this valve as needing slower air. You can't dump a ton of air into it. You have to work with the valve a little bit more. What I found with the Adams is that I think the design works with the valve a little differently. It feels like it's a little more integral into the overall design of the trombone. So when I was going through and playing this, what I really found was, especially at softer dynamics, there was a beautiful warmth and core to it, but it didn't get fuzzy. It maintained its clarity with it. But then once I started to push into the dynamic, it added energy to it, but I don't know if the sound really focused down. I don't think it got tighter necessarily. It gained a vibrancy to it. You could certainly, I think, you could push it to an extent where you could get almost edgy, but at the same time, the valve almost prohibits that in a way. It doesn't let you put so much air in where I think the sound can really, really break up and get edgy. Now, that blow can be a little bit of a two-edged sword. I definitely found, coming back to it and spending a little time with it, I did have to adjust my air approach a little bit differently with it to make sure I wasn't trying to push a ton of really, broad, fast air into it. When I sat back a little bit and allowed the instrument to be a little more efficient, it worked a lot better for me. In a lot of ways, actually, it was reminiscent in certain ways of, for example, the Leslie model Edwards or now S.E. Shires as well, where I felt like the same thing. Like you can't force the horn to play. In fact, you don't want to force the horn to play. You want to let it do more of the work. This feels somewhat like that. One of the things I liked about this compared to some of the other versions I played with the open flow valve is the lower register, the trigger register, felt more open. I really liked how it actually felt more natural to me than some of the stuff in the mid-upper range. I was able to play it, and everything just popped there, and I had a real beautiful clarity to it that I thought was really, really nice, very, very responsive. I thought the overall flexibility between ranges was great, especially at softer dynamics. Boy, it just floats, but not in a way where things don't want to lock in and center. It just moves very effortlessly between those ranges. And again, because it maintains the clarity of sound, because it doesn't get fuzzy, you're grading. It's just like taking a high-end microphone or a high-end sound system and just turning down the volume. You're not losing any of the even overtones necessarily or the timbre. you're just dialing back the actual decibels a little bit. This is kind of what I got out of this. You know, a couple other nice features with this. I've always been impressed with the Adams build. The Adams trumpets and euphoniums have always impressed me with how they've been built. You know, little features with this. I really like the paddle setup here that they have. So they're doing a hardwood paddle, contoured. It's very, very comfortable. And it is adjustable, so if you have a particular thumb position, you can adjust it there. I like that it is adjustable in this direction as well. And everything just feels really solid. I'm not going to call it overbuilt, but it's very, very sturdy. It feels good in the hand. One interesting note here with the Meinl-Schmidt valve, this is using the mini ball linkages, and there are some purists out there. I've seen some stuff on forums lately where people have been talking about the screws used on the linkages, and they said, oh, you know, they're using just a Phillips head screw on there, and it's not a true mini ball, or they're trying to cheap out on it. Well, interestingly, this is not using a hex screw at all here. This actually uses a star screw, and then there actually is a flathead part on the screw as well there. So I don't know whether purists are going to have any thoughts about that or not there, but just an interesting little note. But again, everything feels solid and secure. You know, slide felt great. It's got a great, it's well balanced. It sits well in the hands. And so again, I think this is a really great option for somebody who's looking for an instrument that is a little bit more balanced. Again, we've talked about the last, 2-3+ years about how what we're looking for in large bore tenors has changed a little bit, and oftentimes we're looking for something with a little more efficiency in it. We're not looking for, always some players still want, big, broad sounds. They want big open setups, which is fantastic. Other players are looking for something with a little bit different color, a little bit different timbre, a little bit different response. I think this fits really nicely into kind of this new trend that we are seeing as well here. And price point wise, it falls into very, very comparable to, a lot of similar options from makers like Bach, from Yamaha, and less than, frankly, a lot of the other, what I consider more custom setups as well. So really, really great option. Again, I've been excited to have it in. I'm glad I had a chance to spend some time with it here, and I hope you enjoyed the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Adams TB1. So if you have any thoughts or questions, please feel free to leave them below here. And of course, you can always contact us directly at the shop. Our email is tromboneshop@schmidtmusic.com. So you can check us out there. If you haven't already done so, please consider giving the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Please consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't already. I'm always trying to create new, fresh content for you. You can always find us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. See you later.